How far are you willing to go to maintain a mistake? Think about it for a moment. How many times have you insisted on something that, deep down, you knew was wrong, just to avoid admitting a failure? How many times have you defended a position, not because you believed in it, but because your pride wouldn't allow you to back down? This is one of the most dangerous traps of human existence, clinging to error for fear of appearing weak, inconsistent, or imperfect. But the truth, my friend, is that this insistence does not demonstrate strength, demonstrates quite the opposite. It demonstrates fear, fear of judgment, fear of exposure, fear of acknowledging one's own humanity. Many of us were raised in environments where acknowledging mistakes is seen as weakness. From a young age, we learn that admitting failure is shameful, something to be avoided at all costs. We learn to defend ourselves, to justify ourselves, to shift the blame anywhere else but within ourselves. But this mindset, whether passed down to us with good intentions or not, imprisons us. It prevents us from growing. It keeps us trapped in old versions of ourselves, in behavioral patterns that no longer make sense, in beliefs that no longer serve us. And what happens when we persist in error? When we refuse to admit that we were wrong, the error multiplies. It grows. It spreads to other areas of our lives. And worse, it distances us from God, because it distances us from the truth. Because God is truth, God is light. And where there is falsehood, where there is pride, where there is blind stubbornness, the light cannot enter. But there is a different path. A path that requires courage, yes, but that brings profound liberation, a peace you can't even imagine. And that path begins with 3 simple but powerful words. I was wrong. Only the strong have the courage to admit they were wrong. Only the strong have enough humility to look at themselves honestly and say, I did this and it wasn't right. I said that and I hurt someone. I acted wrongly and I need to change. True strength lies in humility, not in pride, not in stubbornness, not in the need to always be right. True strength lies in the ability to bend without breaking, to acknowledge failure without self-destruction, to ask for forgiveness without losing dignity. And do you know why? Because when you admit a mistake, you're not diminishing who you are. You're showing that you're bigger than the mistake. You're showing that you have character, that you have a conscience, that you have, above all, a sincere desire to evolve. We all make mistakes. There's no human being on this planet who hasn't made mistakes. We err in our opinions, in our attitudes, in our words, in our decisions. We err with those we love, with those we don't even know, and we even err with ourselves. Mistakes are part of the human journey. In fact, they're one of our greatest teachers, because it is through mistakes that we learn, that we grow, that we become who we are destined to be. But here's the fundamental difference. What sets us apart is not how many mistakes we make, but the ability to readjust course. The ability to recognize that an old vision no longer makes sense. The ability to choose a new path with maturity, wisdom, and humility. Changing your mind is not a sign of weakness. Quite the opposite. Changing your mind is a sign of evolution. It's a sign that you're paying attention, that you're learning, that you're growing. Think about how many beliefs you held 10 years ago that you no longer hold today. Think about how many opinions have changed, how many certainties have turned into doubts, and how many doubts have turned into new certainties. This is not inconsistency. This is life. This is spiritual maturity. Clinging to pride is living imprisoned. It's refusing to grow. It's choosing the illusion of being right instead of the freedom of being at peace. And pride, my friend, is a terrible prison. It isolates us. It hardens us. It prevents us from truly connecting with others and, more importantly, with God. To free oneself from error is an act of courage and self-belief. It is to say, I trust that I am capable of being better than I was. I trust that God gives me the opportunity to start over. I trust that the love within me is greater than any mistake I have made. We must not compromise with error. We must compromise with truth, with love, with justice, with God, but not with error. Never with error. And yet, how many times does the ego try to deceive us? How many times does that voice inside our head start to justify, to rationalize, to create elaborate excuses to avoid admitting failure? But I was tired that day, but she also did something wrong. But everyone does it. But if I admit it now, they'll think I'm weak. The ego is a master at creating stories. It protects us from the pain of recognition, but in doing so, it imprisons us in lies. But there is immense liberation when we stop caring about the opinions of others and choose to live with integrity, at peace with our conscience and with God. Because in the end, what really matters isn't what people think of you. What matters is who you are when no one is watching. What matters is whether you can lay your head on the pillow at night and sleep peacefully, knowing that you acted honestly, with love, with righteousness. Reputation is what others think of you. character is what God knows about you. And this distinction is fundamental, because you can have an impeccable reputation in the eyes of the world and, at the same time, be living in conflict with your conscience. You can appear perfect on the outside and be broken on the inside. Or you can be criticized, misunderstood, judged unfairly, and still be at peace, because you know you're doing the right thing. Many great spiritual masters were criticized during their lifetime. They were misunderstood, they were rejected, but they remained faithful to truth and inner ethics. And today, with the passage of time, history recognizes their greatness. Therefore, if you made a mistake, don't be ashamed to ask for forgiveness. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't look for excuses. Simply go to the person you hurt and say sincerely, "I was wrong. I'm sorry." These are some of the most powerful words that exist. They heal, they restore. They build bridges where there were once walls. Apologize to your spouse if you were harsh, unfair, or undervalued. Apologize to your children if you were absent, too severe, or didn't listen when you should have. Apologize to your parents if you were rebellious, ungrateful, or didn't recognize the love they tried to show, even imperfectly. Apologize to those you hurt with harsh words, hasty judgments, and indifference. And apologize to yourself as well for being too hard on yourself, for not forgiving yourself, for carrying a burden for so long that could have already been left behind. Acknowledging mistakes is the first step towards growth. It opens a door to transformation. It allows God to enter and heal what is broken. Changing through wisdom, not impulse, is a sign of maturity. Because it's one thing to change because you were forced by circumstances. It's quite another to change because you understood, because you evolved, because you consciously chose to be a better person. And when someone around you is trying to change, offer support, not criticism. Don't throw past mistakes in their face. Don't say, "I told you so." Don't hinder anyone's transformation process, because we all face the same challenge of evolving and becoming better people. We are all on this learning journey. And if God gives us infinite opportunities to start over, who are we to deny that opportunity to others? Humility in admitting mistakes is one of the greatest virtues of an evolving soul. It's a sign that you are awakening spiritually. It's a sign that you are drawing closer to God. Because God does not dwell in pride, does not dwell in stubbornness, does not dwell in lies. God dwells in truth, in humility, in love. So, if today you recognized yourself in these words, if you realized that you have been carrying mistakes because of pride, fear, or stubbornness, know that there is still time. There is always time. As long as you breathe, there is time to change. There is time to ask for forgiveness. There is time to start over. Don't let pride steal from you the peace that comes from forgiveness. Don't let the fear of others' opinions prevent you from living in harmony with your conscience. Be strong enough to be humble. Be courageous enough to admit when you are wrong. And trust that, in doing so, you are not losing anything. You are gaining everything. You are gaining freedom. You are gaining peace. You are gaining God's approval. And in the end, that's the only approval that really matters. May God grant you the courage to acknowledge your mistakes, the wisdom to learn from them, and the humility to ask for forgiveness whenever necessary. And may you find, on this path of honesty and transformation, the peace you so desperately seek. If this message touched your heart, share it with someone special, and leave a comment saying what you felt. And don't forget to subscribe to the Messages from the Soul channel to continue receiving words of faith, hope, and comfort.